Orgasmic enlightenment, where the sexual and spiritual come together. I'm Kim Anami, and I'm a holistic sex and relationship coach and a vaginal weightlifter. In this show, we explore all things intimate. I believe that our sexual energy is life force, creative energy, and we can use it to shape our worlds, strengthen our relationships, and self-actualize. I blend the most avant-garde information from neuroscience, ancient sexual practices like Tantra and Taoism, to renegade wellness modalities to show you how to create gourmet sex in your lives. Come one, come all. How to have vaginal orgasms. First off, let me say unequivocally that every woman is capable of deeper vaginal orgasms. By that, I mean the G-spot, AFE zone, and cervical orgasms, and squirting. These deeper vaginal orgasms are like the Loch Ness monsters of sexuality. Hardly anyone knows what they are, let alone how to get there. I am forever coming across articles that talk about women's orgasms, or rather a woman's orgasm, as though there is only one. And then I get confused because I wonder, are they talking about clitoral orgasms, G-spot orgasms, anal orgasms, or eargasms? I never know. And the authors of said articles don't seem to know either. Presumably, they're talking about clitoral orgasms, as these tend to be the most common female orgasm and the one most likely to show up in a lab. However, the clitoris is just the tip of the iceberg. Literally, the clitoris most people know and love is a tiny button on the external vulva, which is full of pleasure and swells with touch. The clitoris is part of a larger system of nerves and tissues which make up the entire clitoral bulb, which wraps itself around the entryway of the vaginal canal like a wishbone. This is where things start to get good. Inside the vagina. Just like an iceberg, the external clitoris is only 10% or less of where female pleasure lies. 90% of the titanic altering power is much further inside. I often say that the clitoris is good for a warm-up, a teaser to the main event, but make no mistake, the true pleasure and power of a woman's sexuality and the kinds of orgasms which change her life are located inside the vagina. I guarantee you that. I use the phrase Pandora's box to describe the vagina. A wild, mysterious cavern which houses transformative potential. And this is why so many women are lackluster about sex. They can take it or leave it because they've only ever had clitoral orgasms, or someone mistakenly told them that the clitoris, not the vagina itself, was the pleasure source for women, and they believed it. While clitoral orgasms are fun, kind of like eating a candy bar, they aren't life-changing or life-sustaining. They aren't even nourishing gourmet food. You need to go into the vagina for that. The vagina demands that you open, surrender, and fully let go to experience what it has to offer. All of my best, most cataclysmic sexual experiences have been in the vagina. Afterwards, I'm glowing. I radiate peace and ease and love and confidence and beauty, the epitome of the well-fucked woman. It feels like I'm a new person, that I'm reborn. And these are the orgasms, as I said, that change your life. They actually help you to drop away the false pieces of yourself and become the person you truly are. The reason why they elude so many people, and especially laboratory analysis, although they've been cited in some labs, mainly French ones, just not English ones, is because they involve far more than just technique. In fact, I would say that technique is less than 10% of what will take you there. So here's the other 90%. The first issue is that you think that you are just one of those women who can't. I have had women G-spot orgasm just hours after telling them that they could, meaning they'd previously bought into the untruth that only some women can have G-spot orgasms, and since they'd tried and failed before, they just assumed they were in that category. And then they found me, and I told them that all women were able to have all the orgasms, G-spots and others, and then many of these women try the same day and they succeed. Because if you think you can, you can. And if you think you can't, you can't. Sometimes it's that simple. I 1,000% guarantee that you can. The second factor would be that you have a hard time letting go. So the game-changing factor that separates the girls from the women or the clitoris from the vagina is the ability to open up, drop your guard, and surrender. If you cannot do that, you cannot get there. These deeper internal orgasms call on the deeper internal parts of you. Your vulnerability, your authentic self, they need to be present. You can't hide behind a wall. And that's why these orgasms are less likely to appear in casual sex situations, or if you have unresolved issues in the space between you and your partner. If anything is holding you back, you won't get there. The third factor is having a numb vagina. Most women have numb vaginas. A numb vagina is the product of some kind of dissociation. This might be through sexual or emotional trauma, or simply by virtue of growing up in our sexually repressed and oppressed cultures. Few people make it out alive or with feeling in their vaginas, so you have to recultivate it and bring it back to life. That's why the vaginal kung fu practice, that's what that's all about, waking up the vagina and restoring sensation and feeling in it. So a jade yoni egg is the key to your queendom. Once you have that sensation back, your vagina can function as it's meant to, as a source of wisdom and power. And yeah, really deep, life-changing, immensely pleasurable orgasms. Part of the issue to resurrection is exercise. Like I've said, this whole program of mine in terms of vaginal weightlifting and sentience and activation of the vagina, once you get circulation going in the vagina, you get lubrication, you get flow, you get orgasmic potential, all of that stuff comes back. The fourth factor would be that you have to stay the course. These deeper orgasms involve stamina, and this is why I love them. They push you to go further than you think you can, to surrender deeper than you think you can, and then a little bit further. You know when you work with a trainer at the gym or a really challenging yoga teacher and they don't let you hide, they don't let you cheat, they push you to your edge and hold you there until you break. In a good way. Now apply that to sex and your orgasm. You let go a layer and then another layer and another layer, and once you've peeled back enough layers of yourself, you'll find truth. You'll find your orgasm. This process has saved my life over the years, having a dependable place besides the gym and surfing and wherever else I can find it, that I can go to break myself and to die. They don't call it the little death for nothing, folks. You have to earn it. Speaking of earning it, now I want to introduce you to this week's well-fucked all-star, Amanda. Sigh. I love Amanda. Amanda went from being a woman who had no orgasms ever, not one in her entire life, and I don't mean not vaginal, I mean not even clitoral, and now she has all the things. Clitoral, G-spot, cervical, squirting, energy orgasms, eargasms, assgasms. Now the biggest argument between she and her husband is who is going to do the laundry after she soaks all of those sheets and towels with her ejaculate. Well fucked all-stars. Welcome, Amanda.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. In fact, I owe it to you to be here.
Well, let's talk about that. You have had such an incredible orgasmic journey. So tell us. So where were you? What happened? And where are you now?
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess I basically like to put it that I went from 0 to a million, miles per hour, kind of. So basically, when I discovered your work, you describe, what an underfucked woman is like, and I basically realized that was me, and I didn't make the connection that there was like all this stuff going wrong in my relationship and just my life in general on how I was feeling that was, connected to sex. I from a really early age, I've always been the type of person that's been into personal growth work, like, nutrition, exercise, like spiritual. Like I feel like I had all those other areas, whole essentially. And I was like, why am I so crazy? Why am I not wanting to have sex with my husband anymore? Why am I so mad at him? Why am I mad at myself? There's just all this stuff that was happening. And then when you described, essentially sex being that missing key, I was like, oh my God, duh. So I kind of listened to your work for, I think it was almost a year before I really got to like a breaking point. And the Well Fucked Woman was opening up for registration at that time. And it was like, I got all the emails leading up to it. And then it was on my birthday. It was the very last day of registration. I was like, ugh. I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to register. I'm going to do it. And we're going to see what happens. So it was like, it was perfect timing. And I really felt like I had gotten to, a rock bottom in my relationship and how I was feeling. So I was like, okay, I think this is it. So, and at this, okay, and kind of one of the reasons I feel like I felt like I was really like crazy at that time in my life. I was really moody and all this stuff. So anyway, like, and I think part of that is because I had never had an orgasm in my life, and I didn't even know. Like, I thought I had always enjoyed sex, like most couples in the beginning of your relationship, like you're doing it like all the time, whatever, times a day, in the morning, at night, outside, it doesn't really matter. And I was like that, and I enjoyed it, but I didn't realize that I wasn't orgasming, and that it really wasn't as good as it could have been, that I wasn't actually surrendering at all, and that I was mainly focusing on my husband's pleasure, and I thought I was orgasming, but I was not. So yeah, after joining the salon, I consider that to be like my first like really big surrender, was just letting go of these preconceived notions about myself and what sex can actually do for you. Like, I didn't want to focus on the fact that I had never had an orgasm, because in the interviews I had read and stuff, it just came clear to me that I hadn't, and not even clitoral. Like, I'm seriously talking like not even clitoral orgasms, which always shocks my friends and everybody. Like, I didn't even know that I hadn't had. So crazy. So yeah, so I was a little intimidated when I started, just because I was like, I want to get to this place that she's talking about, but I don't even know what that's like. So instead of focusing on that, I just completely let go. I was like, this life that she talks about is like exactly what I want. And I know that the only way I'm really going to get there is just by more diving in and not even thinking about my past or who I was, essentially. So
you really were willing to just,
yeah.
The way you talk about surrender is to take a chance, to take a chance and throw aside your old ideas, your old beliefs, and take a chance that there might be another better way.
Completely. And I didn't even know what that looked like. I literally went into it with a lot of, I would say, kindness towards myself as well. Like, I kind of made like an internal pact, like not to expect, certain results within like the 8 weeks, and that's how long the salon is. And I was like, if I don't turn into Kim in 8 weeks, like that's fine, like
if you don't join me on the vaginal weightlifting tour.
Yeah, I was like, I essentially understood that this was going to be a journey, and what I was not expecting at all was how quickly all of this happened. It was insane. So I also decided that it was probably more important to focus on myself. Like, I realized that was really where my issues had lied, was that I never had enjoyed self-pleasuring. Like, I didn't know how to feel like sexy on my own. It was always like a show, like for my husband or whatever. And so I didn't even focus so much on sex with him at first, although that was of course part of it. But the biggest thing that I wanted to work on was being able to actually enjoy self-pleasuring. I was like, I had tried before. Sex was not a secret in my household actually growing up. Like my mom had explained it to me, and it was like it was a subject that was on the table essentially, and I had always like tried, but I never ever liked it. And I was like, I don't get why people do this. I guess I'm just one of those people that doesn't like it. So yeah, that was kind of my first starting place, was really trying to enjoy self-pleasuring. And also at this time in my life, I had an extremely busy schedule. I was working 2 separate jobs, sometimes usually between like 50 and 60 hours a week. I also I have a son, and at the time he was like 2, and so like I totally know what it's like to have a busy life. You know, I get that it can seem like something, I guess, that you shouldn't prioritize, or like that you're not possibly gonna have the time for. But I also knew that I couldn't think that way if I was going to get there. So when my son would take naps in the afternoon, or even actually literally in the middle of the night, like I got crazy. I let go of my schedule, and I was just, doing stuff at like all times of the day, honestly. Places too. Like I remember taking, you talk about like coffee breaks to self pleasure. Like I totally did that at work. Like I spent over an hour in a car once after work. My regular time, and I was lucky, I guess, that I had this, like, I knew I could guarantee all this time, but when my son would take naps, and he took long naps, like I would self-pleasure as long as he was taking a nap, essentially. And honestly, sometimes that even went to like 3 hours.
Wow.
And in like the first, because I really didn't want to give up, because I knew that I had like a very, numb, like no man's land vagina, and I had like no sensation, when I started this course. So you said, like in one of the, early salons, that it can take a long time to feel anything. So that's exactly what I did. I just kept going until I felt something. And, the first few times that I did, or maybe, I don't know exactly, this was a while ago, but maybe the first couple weeks of self-pleasuring for anywhere from at least 30 minutes up to, like I said, like even 3 hours at times. Like sometimes it really didn't feel like anything, and then it just started to break through, and it got more and more and more. And in fact, I was so confused by my first clitoral orgasm that I thought it was a G-spot orgasm, because it was so intense. But then I realized that it's like really nothing compared to the other stuff. And then I broke through, I think maybe it was within the first month for sure. I broke through to my G-spot orgasms, and like literal floodgates. Like my first breakthrough with that, I think I had like 7 squirting G-spot orgasms,
In your
within
first
like
session of squirting, you had 7 different
like within
squirting.
Wow. Within like 15 minutes. I wasn't like super focusing on time, but it was like every couple of minutes, like I just didn't stop. I just kept going, because it's like you explained, like I took all your explanations like very literally. I was like, okay, like she says it, they kind of feel endless, and they just, they build and plateau. So I was like, all right, I'll just keep going and see what happens. And I was late for work because I just kind of kept going, because I was like, I want to see where this is going to go. And I had to stop because I had to go to work. It's not like it had stopped, you know what I mean?
Right. 7 was just the beginning.
Yeah.
You could have gone a lot further.
Yeah. And I sent my husband a picture of the results, and he was like, what the hell?
Like how you decimated the bed sheets? What do you mean?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And how I'm honestly sick of laundry. Like after doing work with you, like laundry is like the bane of my life. Too much squirting.
I've actually heard this from more than one person, that when when we manufacture a prolific squirter, laundry actually becomes a bit of a source of like a bone of contention in the relationship. Yeah, like who's gonna do all the fucking laundry today?
Pretty much. Yeah, I've had to buy more blankets, and like we have like, towels set aside and all that. But yeah. So anyway, like it just kept, so obviously that was like a huge breakthrough. Like for me, I was like, from having felt nothing to this like infinite, it really felt like an infinite source of pleasure. Like it just kept going. And then in
So
my
describe
my
more about,
very
if you could,
biggest record.
how did it, so what was
Sure.
that? Did you say Guinness record? What?
Oh, not Guinness record, my record.
Like, sounds like you might be up there
My
anyway,
record.
but how did it, so tell me more about the pleasure and how it felt in your body and how you felt like emotionally, mentally during and then after.
Very, yeah, definitely. So it's really kind of like the beginning, like I was saying, when I even like signed up for the course. It was a huge surrender, and it was not, it's just so expansive is the best way to describe it. Like when you think of clitoral orgasms, like I know exactly what you're talking about, the way you describe them. They're just like a little
Beep.
blip on the radar,
Yeah.
essentially. Like it's so, yeah, totally. Yeah, it feels like a button actually. It's like right there. It's so small, but then like this orgasm was like, it felt like it just went way past my body, and just how continuously good it feels. Like clitoral ones, you're just done, after,
Yeah.
whatever the one that you have, and you're just like exhausted, and like it feels good for a second, but whatever. But the G-spot ones, when I got in there, they just, like I said, they just continued, and they just felt so amazing. And yeah, like sometimes I absolutely cried sometimes, and it would just be crying and then laughing sometimes, and I just completely let myself feel whatever I was feeling. And it's really just jumping into the abyss, that's
Mm.
really all it is. Like it's not, and two, like on a physical level, when you feel like you're about to pee, just let's not pee, just let it happen, so
Yeah.
just letting that happen, and then the pleasure that comes afterward is just like ridiculous. And like I was kind of getting into, my record is well over 30, you know, G-spot orgasms, like squirting all over the place. Like I think that was
Over 30, is
I
that
think
what
that
you
was a
said?
3-hour session. Yeah. I stopped counting actually.
Yeah, I bet your mind
It was
starts
within a
turning off
3-hour
after a
period.
while.
Yeah, it's like I beat 7, I've bet blah blah blah. Like it just, yeah. It, like I said, like I kind of just, I was like, I'm just gonna see how long this can go. Like how long can this possibly go? And yeah, it was like about 3 hours. And again, the same thing. The only reason I stopped is because I had to go to work, and that was just by myself. So yes, and this was all within the 8 weeks of the salon. This was not past it. I just did get to a point where I I guess just completely surrendered, and I was just really paid for doing that. And that was something I had never realized was so important in sex. Like you always hear that growing up. You always hear like, oh, you have to let go and you have to breathe during sex, but they don't really.
You heard
If
that
you don't
growing
know
up?
about these other
You
kinds of
heard that growing
orgasms,
up? I don't
yeah,
know a lot of people hear that growing up.
yeah. No, I've heard that, but it's just I literally read that in Cosmo as a teenager. Like they say it, but it's just like a
Okay.
blip.
Right.
It's like it's not even like, they really don't go into it, or really what you get from doing that, or how important
The
the
depth of it
emotional
all.
aspect is.
Right.
Yeah, totally. So it's
Yeah.
so much deeper than people think. And what's interesting is that when speaking of like the emotions behind this, like, so yeah, I actually did not have a cervical orgasm until I think it was about 5 or 6 months after the salon had ended. And it had gotten a little bit frustrating because it's not like I was like done with my G-spot orgasms, like they weren't amazing anymore. But I was just like, I did want to get to that next level. And I was like, again, like even in that, those really long periods that I was telling you about, like even that at times, and that was using different toys, that was during intercourse, all that stuff, I still was not getting to these cervical orgasms. And that I just, it had gotten a little bit frustrating. I was like, I really want to get there. I want to see what that's like. But I just kept going. I just knew eventually that, again, like if I kept on doing this work, like that would come to. And like I said, that was, I think, 5 or 6 months after the salon had ended. So that did take some time. But I realized that that was like a much deeper level of surrender, like with my relationship and my husband. Like the G-spot orgasms, I feel like, was a really big surrender, like with myself, and kind of realizing, I guess I would say, my own potential to even get there. And then the next biggest surrender was definitely with my husband, for sure. Like when we got to a much deeper place within ourselves, like that's when I was finally able to have cervical orgasms during intercourse. And it would be at least one, but a lot of the time it was, more than one. It was amazing. So it really, really speaks to the commitment of this work. And I did have a lot of rapid success, but then some of it did take a little bit more time.
So I love what you're saying, because I often say that orgasms are the barometer, right? They're the barometer of your level of connection and ability to let go within yourself, and the same reflection, like your level of connection and ability to let go and really open up and surrender with your partner. And when all of those things are in place, then the orgasms come. If you build it, they will come. If you let go of it, they will come. And
Yes.
rather than, like I often say, if everyone had all these physical techniques are out there, they're on the internet, they're in books, and so if everyone could just apply the same physical techniques, then everyone would have these orgasms. But they're not. The majority of the people have never had them, don't even know what they are. And so it all comes down to these other factors that are much less about the physical and much deeper: emotional, spiritual, mental, energetic connections with the self and partner. And when all of that inner work is done, or not, it doesn't have to be completed, right? Like you're never over and done with the work, but once you've made a serious inroads into it, then you see that as then the expression in the body, where it opens up to all these wilder, deeper, more transcendent levels.
Totally. And that's what's so really, liberating, is that I feel like I almost, it's not that pleasure obviously isn't like amazing, and it's almost like ridiculous how amazing it can feel, but it's almost overemphasized, because I feel like this deep internal work that you're talking about is like more so the goal, because it's like you're really learning these like extremely valuable life lessons and traits that expand way further into your outer life. You're learning things like, surrender, which I've talked about, trust, self-worth, confidence, speaking your truth, like all that stuff, like that, all of that like carries on into your life, and you have to harness all of those things and learn how to do those things to experience the orgasm. So they're really, to me, they're a gift for all that other stuff. And I'm not like undervaluing the pleasure at all, but I kind of appreciate what I've learned, in my outer life to an extent, even more than the pleasure.
Right. And I echo that sentiment. I mean, what you're talking about is like, that's the price of admission, right? To these deeper orgasms. They become these milestones, in the sense that when you've achieved and worked through stuff in yourself and gotten to a certain place, then you get these kind of like this reward for your efforts. And that's what I guess I'm so emphatic about the vaginal orgasms and their life-changing potential, is just what you described. Like, in order to get there, the process to getting there involves all of this other deeper energetic breakthrough work. And the benefits are massive, and they spread out, way beyond your soaked sheets out of your bedroom into every other aspect of your life. And they change you, right? Like this, I always talk about the concept of le petit mort, the little birth, and the death and rebirth that you have through these deeper vaginal orgasms, G-spot orgasms, and in particular cervical orgasms. And they are the most amazing personal growth tool for women, that once they know how to access this in themselves, it becomes one of the best things they can do to really self-realize and to harness their innate power.
Yes, and I know what you're talking about. Like, you've mentioned how these orgasms can really like change your entire week. And I know exactly what you mean, because like the when I have these, I'm in such a much calmer mood. I'm so much happier. I'm so much like I have way more physical energy. I feel like a much better parent. Like I have 2 kids now, and a much better partner, like to my husband. Like before I did all this work, like I mentioned earlier, like I was the portrait of an underfucked woman in many ways. Like I just had this like hysteria, I guess. I guess I had hysteria a little bit, like just getting a little bit, you know, crazy. And when I have these, my mood is so calm. Like I just feel so centered for many, many, many days. Like, yeah, like even yesterday, like I had, we just moved into a new place and we broke it in last night in the living room, and I had like an amazing cervical orgasm and like 3 G-spot orgasms, and I'm just like feeling amazing. I was like up really late and it was no problem. And it really does improve life quality overall. And for my husband as well, like he notices the difference as well, in his work life, in his relationship with me. Like our communication is so much better. We feel so much more on the same page about where we're going in life. And it used to feel like such a struggle, because there were these issues that we weren't dealing with, that we didn't realize were issues. It was taking up so much space. And once we really got the sex figured out, everything just feels so much smoother. And things are falling into place without us really having to work very hard. Like all these things that we want, they just are happening without even really searching. So it's the power is incredible. And it really makes me enjoy demon hunting. Like you always talk about, like demon hunting. It becomes, I really do understand how intimidating it can feel in the beginning, because depending on whatever your past is, like there are some like negative emotions that come up. Like with me, I totally have stuff come up still. Even after I've gotten, I feel like, really far on this journey that I never thought I would be in. And it just, I'm not afraid to really look at myself, and you have to look at the good parts and the bad parts of yourself, and you have to learn how to improve. And that's when all this amazing stuff comes. So because I know what the reward is like now, and I've gotten that sexual piece into my, how I take care of myself, yeah, life just feels so much more complete and happy and joyous.
I love all of that and how you've described it, which is exactly how I say that when you focus on your intimate relationship and your sexual energy, that then becomes this turbo boost that then fuels and energizes every other part of your life, to the point where you then don't even have to work so hard on the rest of your life, because you basically go inside in the bedroom, have amazing sex, have life-changing orgasms, and then that just kind of catapults you out of the bedroom and has this giant wave of energy and power that flows out into everything you do, where you don't have to stress, you don't have to slog as hard, you don't have to work. It's like, no, you go inside and you fuck. you fuck well, and you fuck deeply, and then you come out, and the world, it's like it just gets paved in front of you. So I love hearing all about that, and that you brought in, the connection with your partner, because I often say that when a woman is really underfucked, she's going to make everyone know about it, especially her partner. And even if she might be part of the reason why she's underfucked, right, her own blockages and resistance, she's going to take it out on him primarily, right? And so once the woman becomes well fucked, everything changes. Instead of the naggy, bitchy partner that he had before, or she, whatever, like then she becomes this ultimate support.
Absolutely.
You know, she's on his side, she's helping out, she's like, whatever you can do, easygoing, carefree, you know, blowjobs all over the house, right? Like she's a very, very happy
Yes.
woman. Happy wife, happy
Yes, that was the
life.
partner I wanted to be for him because he's my life partner. He's an amazing father, an amazing partner to me. But both of us just really didn't make the connection that the sex was missing. It's like I feel like most people, including myself, just sex is just gonna continue to be amazing. It's like we liked it when we started, and it's just gonna continue that way. But that's not how it works at all. So many emotions come into it, and oh my gosh, yeah, I didn't realize how much more was involved, and again, like just horrible sexual education out there is really no surprise, but it's so much more emotional than I ever thought growing up, and it's the single, I would definitely call it the single most important, thing that I've ever really done for myself, really. And I'm so glad that I learned it earlier on in life, but it doesn't mean that you can't start at any other point either. It doesn't matter when you start. It's really just that you get there and that you stay committed. And
Yeah.
I loved that I felt so proud that I committed as much as I did to this, because I feel like most people, you give up on other things like exercise routines or whatever, and this staying on this course it just continuously evolves to give gifts to me, and I can only imagine how that's just going to continue. And yeah, like the other orgasms that there are that people don't even realize, it's not even just clitoral and G-spot and cervical. Like I've had, the other ones as well, like nipple orgasms and anal and energy. It's like, what? It's amazing what our bodies are really capable of. And where do I want to go with that?
Well, there's a whole new
Just,
universe out there once you start to
yeah,
open up those doors and
essentially.
open up your mind and
Yeah.
release any old beliefs and limiting ideas and stuff that's been put on top of you by culture, society, family, religion, whatever. And to break through that, you see, yeah, there's a whole other universe out there that just keeps growing and expanding,
Yes.
like your orgasms.
Yeah, the physical infinity, like I said, like over 30 orgasms, like no problem. It's like you just really realize how much you're capable of in your own life. So,
Right. The power that you have in
yes.
your orgasms becomes the power you have in your whole life. And one of the things I so
Yes.
love about your story is your level of commitment. Like you're deciding, I'm going to get there. I'm going to self pleasure while my son's asleep. I'm going to self pleasure in the car. I'm going to like whatever, be up in the middle of the night. Won't get much sleep tonight, but that's all right.
Hmm.
Like your total commitment to make it happen in the face of things that people often rationalize as being good reasons why not to. Like you're super busy
Yeah.
at work, you're working 50 to 60 hours, you're a new mother, you have a child around, like all completely socially sanctioned excuses for why not to put
Yes.
energy into these areas. And you just went, whatever, I'm getting there, and you did it. And that's why I
Yeah.
really wanted to talk to you and have you share that with people because,
And
that's
people
a
have to stop
huge part of
thinking
it.
of, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No,
Yeah.
go ahead, you go.
People need to stop thinking about sleep. People need to stop using sleep as an excuse. Like, I can't, so many times, my husband and I are like, oh my God, like I'm so tired. And do we really want to do this? And then we just do it and we just start. And then the energy comes like almost right away. Because again, like once you open all of that up, your energy just immediately raises and you don't need to sleep as much. We really don't. Like I only probably get 5 to 6 hours of sleep and I feel so energetic. Like I have 2 kids now, obviously a relationship, household, job, all that stuff, and it's it's like another part of nutrition essentially. So
Yeah.
that's another excuse that people need to stop using.
Right. It's your daily bread. Well, you're gluten-free. It's better than bread. Your daily superfood
Yes.
injection.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Amanda. That was amazing. I really appreciate you
You're
being willing to
welcome.
share your story and be a beacon and inspiration for other women to know what's possible for them, even coming from a place like starting with not having any orgasms and then becoming this orgasmic all-star. So thank you.
Thank you. I couldn't have gotten there without your description of how it all works. So thank you so much.
The vagina demands that you show up deeply. The keys to the kingdom, or the queendom rather, are found inside. The Well Fucked Woman Salon is open for registration. Join me on this 8-week journey to all things orgasm and female sexuality. The salon starts next week. Are you coming? Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, subscribe and also leave a review. And send someone else the gift of a healthy libido and an off-the-charts love life by sharing this episode with them. We'll be back next week, and in the meantime, many happy orgasms.